Yo, West Side, Wagwan, what it do? You know what the fuck going, you know what I'm talking about? So, as I return, you know what I'm saying, back in this motherfucker once again, I just dropped another video on the YouTube the other day, and yeah, that was lit. We was up in Inglewood, just getting it in, and just sharing the wisdom of this 222 energy. And man, that video was lit. You know what I mean? I was my phone fucking died during that video, so it was crazy. But I definitely gotta bring y'all to part two of that, man. Just based on the information and the wisdom that I wanted to share. And what I was speaking on regarding the ending of that video, I was talking about the crystals and the seer stones and just the different, I would say, category and maybe relic of crystals in the crystal family, because there's so many things, what I mean, so much information in that aspect. But I didn't get to complete that, what I mean, just in that video. I don't think I fully completed my message in that video regarding the crystals and seer stones. But today, I just want to share more of a different message. You know what I mean? I got a different message, and we just gonna keep going. We ain't gonna hold back. You know what I mean? From what the future is looking to provide, and we ain't gonna keep ourselves in the past. So we gonna stay fluid, but at the same time we gonna stay present. You know what I mean? So in the presence of the present, everything is everything. And just within that, I just thought I'd bring the message of the day, or my message of the day, and the energy that I've been feeling, and just the wisdom that I was, pulling through as I rose up today. You know what I mean? As I rose or risen this morning. However you niggas wanna, what I'm saying, all this grand rising, morning, grief, fuck it all, man. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Fuck it. For real. Some motherfuckers ain't living, according to their own words anyway. So it's like, I didn't grew so, I would say, high in my intuition and my spirit. I don't be fucking with motherfuckers in their human behavior and decency and political correctness. I don't fuck with that. So I ain't never been like that. So I can't even try to be like that to fucking save my life, nigga. I can't do it. Fuck it. It ain't for me. But in the rising hour, what I mean, I got into some messages around like around like 6 this morning. You know what I mean? Shout out to the 666 energy, because that energy has definitely come through, to uproot and to also, I would say, shine a light, or I would say signify where, a completion is being had or can be had, or is, what I mean, on its way. So essentially that sun energy, that solar energy, that empowering energy of the 666, or the beast, or the avatar, what I'm talking about, it's activated right now. This is where we, need to be tapping in to our own inner chaos, what I mean, and structuring and ordering, the things that we would like to see in our own alignments. You know what I'm talking about? For real. So, rising beyond illusions. That's what I titled this message, and that's the title of this message, is Rising Beyond Illusions. And this was inspired to me, or was inspired of me just seeing certain things that I've been seeing in the world, as far as society or just the human experience. Certain shit I've been seeing, man, I just don't agree with. I feel like within this cycle of a 10-year or 2026, I find we in such a refined and renewed state of being as like consciousness, to where niggas should not even want to emotionally regress and feel the old outdated pain and suffering and ignorance and struggle of idea that niggas have been through all up until this point. Because if you've been doing any sort of work, even before the pandemic or whatever, if you've been integrating, upgrading, updating, and getting rid of the outdated cycles and cyclical memories and things that don't serve you, then you already know where you ought to be or where you are in this now moment of, let's just say, the earth, air, fire, water, and all the other planetary elements and stars and constellations, all the shit. You already know who you are and where you are in the universe as a universal being. So that's just what I'm getting at. And I find that, within the rising beyond illusions, we are definitely in such a greater space of newness, to where you don't want to let old or past thoughts, ideas, memories, images try to trick you back into a cycle of repetition that you don't want to, let's say, I would say, restart in another 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 40-year cycle to come. You know what I'm talking about? So within the oneness of this year, as far as 10, it's really about the idea and the initial action that we take, based on our inspiration, and how we influence not only, the world, right, but our own influence of the world as self. You know what I mean? So being self-inspired or self-taught, or all of that, this is where that energy is to be accounted for based on what we are able to bring or put forth here within this new world that we create. You know what I'm talking about? So in the opening of the mouth, ceremony is indeed connected to the mushroom and the psychedelic culture of Kemet. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what, the message, that's how I started the message, was talking about the opening of the mouth. Because the opening of the mouth, in which, I'm speaking right now, but the opening of the mouth is even greater to the aspect of, we have, I would say, a greater function of expression, or our mouths, when it comes to the intuition, when it comes to the spirit, when it comes to the psyche and the element of the spirit communicating through the mind and body, of which you receive thoughts and feelings and words and all the other shit. You know what I mean? Inspiration. So essentially, I was saying that the opening of the mouth ceremony in Kemet, and how it's connected with the mushroom and the psychedelic culture, or the culture of psychedelics and entheogens. Opening the mouth more in depthly study is awakening the medulla oblongata, which can be practiced through the sacred mushroom ceremonies. So essentially, awakening the God particle, or the God consciousness, or the expression of God within the psyche or the spirit, or within, let's say, the mind, the brain, you feel me? Because the medulla oblongata is in the head. So understanding the Godhead, the Godhood, and the potentialities of the realities and the things that we can create, I would say, multidimensionally, and multidimensionally, overall, cosmically, as a star, as a being, as a sun, as all this shit, man. So that's just where I'm at with that. But the medulla oblongata, also known as the mouth of God, from which all life is spoken, so then exists. Tahuti, or Thoth, is connected within the ritual of opening the mouth, as he is a speaker, a voice, and a keeper of the sacred wisdom through text writing or inscription. When compelled of an idea, a thought, or a concept, one usually speaks of it into existence, even as the inner voice speaking through the physical one, is rather adjusting to the vibration of the words they then say or speak, energetically or phonetically. So we getting into the aspects of sound, and I want to say idealism, but even going beyond that and just understanding sound and vibration and frequency, to even be able to pull forth or pull through communication or dialogue of the sort. And this is where all of that is, because we talking about, of course, the necromancy, the tapping in with the stars and the earth elements, you know what I mean? Just being able to understand one's own connection and interconnectedness of the source and all that which we come from, and that which we bring forth in our experience in this human body. So the mushroom is then syncretized with the initiate of the Neteru, who is being open or shown the way of the mysteries through their own self-initiation ritual, as qualified or pre-qualified among the elders. And that's something that's significant, because in the fast forward of today, a lot of the same shit is still going on. It's just it's just, it has a lack of consciousness. So with that lack of consciousness, you can imagine that like a dream being deferred, or something dying out, you know, but it still exists, but it's like the energy has like kind of died down along with, let's say, the saturation and perpetuation of the culture and all the shit that niggas been trying to, you know, I would say craft and cultivate and manifest, right? You know, and so I say that to say, because you got to question, or for me personally, regarding my spiritual journey, question influence, question inspiration, question everything. But when it comes to your own interaction of the world or in the world, you know, as is, you should want to be not only inspired, but you should want to always consider where the inspiration is and coming from as oneself, being spirit. So when you are inspired, or when you are looking for inspiration, or let's say creating spirit, right, then you definitely want to be able to tune in to yourself consciously as to where you are existing or are creating yourself to exist as a conscious being. And so this is where we at with that, as we rise beyond illusions. The mouth of God, in which all life is spoken from and into existence, is referring to the cosmic power of vocation, invocation, evocation, provocation, vocation itself. Through the various vocations and utterances, many things of life and nature manifested itself as spirit, the Ka, which is known as, you know, in Kemet, the Ka is the spirit. Spirit is the Ka. When formatted or placed into a frame or body, the Ka is then met with the Ba. Ba is the soul, the shadow, which is connected to the body of light or light, the body of life or light even. The Ba is anchored to the body while in life, and is released in death, or some, as some say, in sleeping periods. So awakening the voice of wisdom, the voice of truth that speaks, I would say, subtly in its language. Tahuti, as a speaker or a voice himself, is recording the events taking place like a procession, being very detailed and accurate without missing a key point in the storyline to be told or discovered through ritual ceremony. And so this is where, you know, let's say, how I download that when it comes to the mushroom experiences and the rituals and the journeys and the things that we explore and are able to see in our inner world. How do we document, or how do we, you know, take notation of these things to be, as I would say, cataclysmic, as eventful, as great, and as, you know, wise as they are or would be, you know what I mean? So how does it apply, you know, to oneself and one's own awareness or being? And I would say just recording, or being able to record and keep up with the spirit in the moment of, I would say, ritual or wisdom, or let's say receptivity, is a key thing when it comes to the free mind. You know, the key of the mind, of course, but, you know, the free mind. Whereas, you know, in one's truth, or regarding one's truth, you know, as far as being able to expand or open up the mind, you definitely got to know the key as far as the truth in that you seek, or that you are, to be able to free yourself and be yourself, you know, like in the illimitable sense. That's what I wanted to say. So where am I reading at? So as you are recording yourself, because that's what I was talking about, how Tahuti is recording not just himself, but the events and the things that are taking place ceremonially, ritualistically, cosmically, in the events of, you know, Kemet. Overall, you do the same thing, or you would or should do the same thing, or could do the same thing when you go in your venture into the spaces of the mushroom. So whatever pantheon you might connect with, or wherever you might come from, how does one draw the information back down into their conscious mind of being, to know themselves in these greater essences, or supernal sparks, you know what I'm saying? So to be able to document these things and write these things down, or even, let's say, take note of them, even if it's just mentally, is a key thing. But the whole thing is the memory of hyperspace activity, or these higher dimensions or higher worlds, of where you are connecting yourself, and at the same time bringing that world of information back down through your world of existence and manifestation. And so that's just that, you know what I mean? So I like to say that because as simple and mundane it can be taken, like, oh, Tahuti's just a writer. He's just recording. Da, 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 da. It's so much more to that, especially when you are going through your own self journey, where you are to be self-taught, self-assured, and self-approved. So when it comes to keeping a score and keeping record, of your own Akashic memory and database within your own software, soul, spirit, consciousness, this is where, let's say the wisdom of Tahuti is to be bestowed upon you, or to awaken and activate within your own, I would say, penmanship, within your own vocation, within your own expression and self, so that's just that. And awakening, hold on, I already read that. Mirroring the cosmic events of the stars and the great beingness within our consciousness and beyond. So that's where, the record of experience and what's really being held in the halls. Of course, all the fuckery is there, but no, that's not, we ain't worried about that. We, what I'm saying, we ain't sweating that. It's always a bigger picture. There's always more to the little things or the details that we may overlook or skim over. And so expand your senses, expand your mind, expand, your consciousness to be able to see more from less, or with less, or to be able to do more with less, you understand? So during ceremony or ritual, the objective began from mirroring or reflecting back what we saw consciously of the great stars of Sirius or in Sirius, whether it be through sacred cloth, dance, song, meditation, or information as a whole. How we were able to draw these things into existence was through the connection paired with the mushroom that opened up the hidden spaces and places we then ventured into, where we discovered the tools, the gems, and sciences we needed in order to transcend the plane of reality. Rising beyond the illusion that all we are is just human, when clearly is much more to our existence as humans than we know. Therefore, as souls or conscious beings, we must be older than time itself, or the time we give ourselves as souls to experience the great portions of periods that make up a whole cycle to be complete of the sun, moon, stars, and planetary beings we are. As generators, architects, creators, conductors of the light, we configure through the darkness of mystery that unfolds in epiphany, realization. You know what I'm talking about? And so the mirroring of worlds, thoughts, ideas, and many other things. Mirrors, portals, dimensions, cameras, and space. And that was something that I felt was like really speaking to me earlier today when we talk about Ra, Amen Ra, or Ra, America. We could really get into it just when it comes to the energy of light, but the energy of Ra, and how Ra is rather, I would say, Horus. How Horus is in the cut, laid in the cut of all things. You know what I mean? So when it comes to actual light being projected and conducted and cultivated, we really have to look at not only what is already here to manifest, but look in the simple things of truth. Don't look for the difficulties of what the mind can't explain or would not be able to explain, because you only gonna wreck your brain. But when you start to see within the mind, right, that the things that are not, or the things that are not of the mind particularly, then you can go beyond the perception of the mind or illusion to let's say, get a better understanding spiritually, energetically, and interconnectedly. So something regarding the cameras was speaking to me, just as far as like how, we be talking about how everything is recorded, or as I'm speaking on how everything is recorded, and how, it's in the human experience, we be speaking on how everything is recorded, cameras everywhere. But then I would say I download, but I'm like, wait, if everything is consciousness and is of the sun, the light, right? The light bearers, the light beings, then it made me think even the technology that's reflecting or mimicking or mirroring back to us the dimension and space of which we are, who we are, where we come from, that means everything has to have its origin, its own self-assurance, its own, I don't know, character, if I can call it that. But I'm saying that to say, cameras and the whole idea and aspect of cameras really is coming from the eye of Ra. You know what I'm talking about? And so understanding the nature of the eye in the eye of Ra and what it represents and symbolizes as consciousness and awareness is so much more than the naked eye. You know what I mean? It's so much more to the things that we see with our naked eyes that we don't recognize. So there, we need to use our intuition. We need to tap in with our greater consciousness, our higher self, our spirit, our soul, to know more from the lesser that we may have been or been operating in. And that by that I mean the physical. And so here we go. So mirrors, portals, dimensions, cameras, space. Currently on Earth in a 10-year cycle starting during Aries season, a new sun cycle of Horus is coming forth. You know what I mean? So we are approaching this fire horse year, just as, you know, as the new sun, or as Aries, as we approach Aries right now. And overall, I'll be into my numerology and things. So 10 is a number of Horus, the son of Isis and Osiris, who has been appointed to, in a vision, his father's death through slaying his uncle Set. Cosmically, these are all events of the stars conflicting with one another due to jurisdictions, principles, laws, and morals, though rather in a higher context of vibration, frequency, and awareness of something like, let's say, formless, in the sense of not physical. You know what I mean? So what became physical as the conflict, as the war, as the fight, as whatever, it was all something greater before we decided to, you know, have any disagreement or any sort of anything down here. And that's just what that is. So today, what is the world that we mirror or make up in our minds? Today, what is the world that we mirror or make up in our minds? Is it the natural world we know and remember, or are we entertaining the mirror itself, getting lost in the illusion of light that's reflecting back to the collective projection of light through generation? And I'm speaking to the manifest from the unmanifest, as in, why don't we question the projections of such ideas in limited consciousness to just being human as a docility to ignorance? And so I say that to say, oftentimes when niggas don't have an answer, when niggas don't have a clue or an idea, or when niggas don't know, niggas, oh, I'm just human, bro, or I'm just this, that, the third. Niggas easily excuse the information and the wisdom and the things that are to be, let's say, unraveled to just the human or the mind. And shout out to our wise woman, shout out Miss Blue, because she always told a real nigga this shit. She always told me. But she always told the collective, stop giving credit and power away to your mind when you are operating spiritually, soulfully, or let's say greater than the limitations of your imagination. You know what I'm talking about? So as a creator, as a generator, as an operator and destroyer, you gotta really get into the harvest and hone in on your energy as to who you are and what you are looking to even bring forth in you as, you know, a part of this experience here. And so it's easy to just docile your energy into a mentality or a frame of mind that is rather unknown or ignorant, to just say that's human, that's human, or that's just what it is. And I disagree with that, because you can't say I'm super and then say a nigga fucked up or a nigga weak, unless you just super fucked up and super weak. You know what I'm talking about? So when it comes to the oneness and the syncretization of your body and mind with the essence of your soul and spirit, the ka and the ba, right? You have to break through the illusions of ignorance and things that you tell yourself that you don't know, or tell yourself that you won't know, because of whatever it is you got going on in your mind and your mental space. And I mean, collectively, we all must, I would say, reject and we must reject the falsehood and illusory concepts that we may have accepted or been docile into, whether it was religion, whether it was social media, society, whether it was the fucking people on the street talking shit, whatever it was that was able to docile you into a state of your human behavior. to compromise your spirituality, to compromise your sovereignty and all of that, that's where you gotta come up from. You gotta come up from among and come up from under that bullshit to rise on top. You know what I mean? Like Horus. So definitely, you know, I'm just, you know, I thought I'd come share that wisdom and message from the opening of mouth ceremony. I felt that it was more for me as a message, but my guys definitely said, you know, ain't no pressure. Go and share that with the collective, man, because, you know, we all need to open up our mouths and speak. We all need to be able to express ourselves and be having, you know, the connection with ourselves that says I am, or that says or all of that. And, you know, and I'm speaking from a place of I don't want to say senselessness, but in a greater sense, you know, it becomes things that you don't have to speak because you just know. So the intuition and the spirit and the inner voice, the inner mouth becomes expanded and opened up, rather than it is caged in, gritting of the teeth, not speaking, closed-hearted, all this shit. You know what I mean? You don't want to enter into this new sun with the pent up, imprisoned sort of energy, nor do you want to carry that nostalgia, you know, and that's not the word maybe, but you don't want to carry that frequency and vibration, or let's say what I like to call it, you don't want to carry that debris, because that's all it is, especially if you're supposed to be somebody that's clean, purified, or coming out upright in your own new being. You know, you don't want to carry debris of the old or the outdated cycles and things that do not serve the truth in the way in life that you live now, in the Christ consciousness, or in the being of light that you are now in this moment and always have been. So continue to remind yourself, continue to know yourself, you know what I'm saying? And as you know yourself, you remind yourself of yourself. But as I would say, continue to know yourself and know thyself until thy own self be true. One love, one love, one love. West Side. Gratitude.